Hello, my name is Mario Arnone. This is the story about my family, the people who came before us and after us, in the town called Aguilar that we call home.
This town is the great metropolis of Aguilar. This is where all these, my father, Alice's father and mother and grandparents, this is the town that they come to when they come from the old country. And they claim that the husband had won the town in a poker game, and that's how. And then they had certain sections of it. Then they start dividing these sections, and that's how the town came about. Okay, this family tree here is the thing that we want to try to stress here is that how me and Alice come together. So I went as far back as her great-grandparents and my great-grandparents. And the reason we didn't go back any further because most of them come from the old country. So we can start off from here where we have a Francesco Catani, and he married a Dominica. At this point I didn't know the last name, so I called her Dominica Catani. All right, and from this marriage here, they had a son named Giovanni Catani. All right, then over here we had this Giacchino Valenti, who married a Teresa Scazzoni, and they in turn had these children, Albina, Eugenio, Costanza, Silvio, Enrico, and Aberdino. Well, what happened is that this one of these people here was a real wealthy man in Aguilar. He was probably the wealthiest man in Aguilar. His name was Enrico Valentini. Now, one thing about this Enrico, he died, and he was scared. He was the richest man in the town of Aguilar at that time, and he died, and he was scared. He lived in a place that was made concrete walls, and so when he died, he had some brothers in the old country who come 6 months after he had died, and they dug him up so that the brothers could see him, you know.
Oh no, you're kidding.
Yeah, and when they found out that his body had turned certain colors or stuff, they knew that he had been poisoned.
Oh.
And that, they don't know how it got poisoned, but this was Alice's great uncle that this happened to him. So he sent for his sister. His sister was Albina. Well, she in turn had married this Giovanni Catani, and they had a son named Oresti.
Now see, Dad, Enrico came, and then Albina is his sister.
Sister, yes. Yeah. And her husband died in the old country, and then she married a man named Yemi.
Okay.
That was living here. All right. Then from Oresti, they went into the family of. He married an Angelina. He went to work in the mine up here. He was working in a coal mine, and he was sort of like a tipple boss. Well, he got mad at some of the people there that were working. They weren't doing that, so he starts to going down the mine mad, and the cable that pulls the cars out of the mine, you know, they have these cables that pull these coal cars like the one that's out there. Well, what happened is it got caught, the cable snapped and hit him across here and cut him in half. He was 29 years old, bled to death before he got to. And Alice, the last daughter, was born 2 months after her dad died. See, she wasn't born when her dad died. She never did know her father. Well, to get back to how to get the Angelina, we find out that there was a Matthew Javernick and a Mary Paycheck, who were the parents of, they were Alice's grandfather and grandmother. And they, in turn, had 5 girls and 3 boys. And these were all of their relations: Angelina, Oscar, Joe, Mary, Matthew, Ida, Bessie, and Sophie. All right. Now, Angelina married Oresti, and then, in turn, they had 3 girls and a boy. And from these 3 girls, there was Helen, Marianne, Oresti, and Ellis.
About 3 years after Angelina's husband Oresti died while working in a mine, Angelina entered into a common law marriage with Frank Guadagnoli and had 2 boys, Frankie and Danny.
Ellis, which is, in turn, comes to marry Joe, which is me. But in order to get my part of it, now, are you following me as I move along here? As we come into this part here, we have Gaetano Arnone married to Santa Vazina and Vajana. And they, in turn, had some boys, Giuseppe, Salvatore, Sandro, Michelina, Carmelo. Well, from this marriage, we come up with Michelina, Maria, Santa, and Gaetano. All right, these were the Arnone side of it there. Then on my mother's side, which was the Pagliuso side, it starts from down here also, where we have a Francesco Bombino married Maria Galante. And then from there, they had a bunch of kids, Michele, Vincenzo, Francesco, this Vincenzo Bombino, who was sort of a freak of nature type of a person. I told some of them here that he had this this tail. His spine overgrew about this long, and it hung over the side. But he had a strength that was a freak. He was really a freak of nature. He could, at one time in Salt Lake City there, he put a streetcar on track. You know, he just got out and picked it up and put it on track with the people in it. With the people in it. And it was in the paper up there. When I went out there years ago, I should have got a copy of it. Another thing that he used to do is, years ago, they used to, for the 4th of July, they used to have tug of war. The Slavs and the Italians. And the Slavs used to beat the hell out of the Italians every year because they had those those big Slavs. They were tough. So one year they decided, they says, well, we got to beat these Slavs, you know, they won't let us live it down. So they went to this was in Crested Butte, Colorado. So they says, we'll send for this Vincenzo Bombino and bring him out here. We'll pay his trip and everything. So they brought him out.
The big guy.
Little guy. Yeah, he was probably built like Mario, one of the pictures that I've seen. I don't even know where they're at there. He was probably like Mario, you know, stocky like that. And so they brought him to Crested Butte, and they says, well, we're going to have this tug of war tomorrow, which is the 4th of July. And it was the Italians visit the Slavs, you know. And so they had the little conference before there. My father was there, and he told them, all right, now, he says, I'm going to get in the back with the rope, and he kind of got the rope around here and tied like this. The only thing I want you guys to do is to make sure I don't fall down, you know. You steady this rope.
Yeah.
And so he started digging like this. And when he dug, he dragged those slabs, they said, clear across the finish line. Wouldn't stop, he was mad, you know. He didn't want to stop with that. I want to stop him to get... But that's, I guess, one of the few years that the Italians beat the Slavs up there in Crested Butte. This Giuseppe married Francesca Maria Bombino, see, from this other part here. Here, my grandfather came to Salt Lake to go work, and when he was working in Salt Lake, when he was working to Salt Lake, he went to, he was here for a couple months. He left his wife pregnant in the old country. After he was here a couple months, he had got ruptured appendix and died. My mother was born 2 months or 3 months after he died. See, so, and they in turn come up with 4 daughters, which was my mother. And for my mother, there was Raquel, Rosina, Clorinda, and Aquilina. As a matter of fact, this Raquel, which is according to the family tree, when she was a young girl, she had a real high fever, and she became an epileptic. And then, but her mind, then it affected her mind real bad, so that she probably had the mind of a 10-year-old. She never did get on. And when my folks come by, they come to this country, her sister, Rosina, my mother's sister, Rosina, was the first one to come. And I guess I was telling Joel there, that she come as a matched marriage was set up for her. Her uncle, which was my grandfather's brother, had set up a marriage, and they sent for her. Well, in the meantime, my aunt Clorinda stayed in the old country, and my mother come to this country to be with her. Then that's where my mother met my father, and
How did they meet, Dad?
oh, he saw her. He had heard about it, that she had come and thought she was the most beautiful thing in the world, and she was. She was really a beautiful girl, a beautiful woman at that when she was young. And so he started courting her, and of course my dad had been here. My dad come in 1905. My mother didn't get here till 1922, and 1921, and they met and married in 22. And then from this union, there was 4 boys and 1 girl, and the boys were Joe, which is my name, my son, my brother Gilbert, Orlando, Armando, and Edith. I was the firstborn, but before me there were 3 miscarriages. My mother had 3 miscarriages, and then she had a daughter that the doctor says, you got to go to bed on your 6th month, but that's what you would lose them. You go to the bed and you stay there until you deliver. So my mother went. The baby lived to be to the full 9-month period. After 18 days, caught pneumonia and died. She's buried up here at this cemetery, and that's Josephine. She's buried at the cemetery. So after that, I was born. I was the oldest born. My father was 40 years older than I was, and in 7 years, my mother had 5 more children. I had 5 children with me. And then, you see where I married Alice, and then from this union we had 4 boys and 3 girls: Albina, Gaetano, Judy, Dino, Christina, Maria, and Joseph. Mario and Joseph. All right, Albina married James Lee, and she has 3 stepchildren: Jason, Joseph, and Joel, and Jocelyn. And Judy married Steve Matidi, which he has 2 boys, which were Mario and Vincenzo. And Gaetano married Beth Henrietta, which had 4 girls: Maya, Linnea, Annika, Kayla, and she married a Bryce Lassiter. All right, on this other side here, we have from my brothers, where my brother Gilbert married Mitzi Caserni, no children. My brother Orlando married a Betty Belosian, which ended up with 2 girls and a boy, Linda, Patty, and Joe. Shally, Armando married Linda, whatever, and they had a daughter named Shally. And Edith married Leon Philwood and had 2 boys, had a boy and a girl, Armando and Melina. And Armando married and had 2 girls and a boy, Victoria, Kennedy, and Reese. Then from this other side here, we have how the other relations, which I'm sure that my children would want to know how some of them come about. We had a Clorinda here, which was my mother's sister, who didn't have any, got married, didn't have any children. My mother's sister Rosina married a Carmelo Guadagnoli and had 2 girls and 4 boys: Louis, Carl, Joe, Carl, Mary, Francis, and Albert. And they in turn married. One married a Wanda Lackey, had 2 children, which was Sophie and Robert. And Joe married Catherine. Married Catherine and had 1 daughter named Rosemary. Mary married Preston Abel, had Freddie and Patty. Then she married a guy named Glenn and had Herb. And Francis never did marry. And Albert married Mary Ann and had 4 children: Albert, Kathy, Jerry, and Michael. Well, that's it.